Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who walk the streets of Jersey City, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. She is, Ms. Marvel. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I am your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, welcome. Welcome to Ms. Marvel, Season 1, Episode 6, No Normal. Back in Jersey, Kamala finds Cameron and protects him from damage control, who will stop at nothing to take him in. Our directors this week are Adil El Arabi and Bilal Falah. Our writers this week, we get Will Dunn on the teleplay by. A.C. Bradley also gets that teleplay by. And of course he is listed as A.C. Bradley, which is what I just said. And Matthew Chauncey gets that teleplay by credit as well. Will Dunn got the story by, because he just did that little extra to get the story started. It was created for television by Bisha K. Ali. Will Dunn and Sophie Miller are our story editors. Of course, G. Willow Wilson and Adrian Elfona get the created by credits for Ms. Marvel / Kamala Khan. Josh Levine, an extra story editor, just when you thought 2 wasn't enough. And then hardest working 2 people in show business, Aisha Borhi and Kate Gritman. There are our staff writers. Wow, a lot of people worked on this show today.
If you're going to try to tell, a large story in 6 episodes, you better have a lot of good story editors.
Yeah. And, I think they pulled off a really neat trick here. At least I do.
I definitely wish we had more, but they were able to make use of that time really, really well.
They really did. And one thing that I think is really telling about it is just the fact that you see how the government overreach is winding up causing half the problems that they're dealing with, That, yes, Cameron, he has these unstable powers, but these drones are peeping in people's windows, which, first off, that's a bit of a privacy violation right there. Mm-hmm. And, for example, you could have just peeped in somebody's windows in Jersey City and they might have shot at you. And would that have caused the drone to blow up the whole Circle Q? No superpowers involved?
Yeah.
You can't be peeping in people's windows in Jersey City. That's not polite.
Although you think back on, the surveillance state that we live in after 9/11 and how drastically things changed. You think about the world that these people live in. What have they gone through? So, I am sure people would be not as careful as, they once were about what they let happen.
At the same time, I I gotta say, like, I think so. It's like when you talk about like the Steel Circle, which is what they have in London, and it's all of these integrated closed circuit cameras that are everywhere. So, like, if you're walking down a city street in London, there's tape of it, and that is just for pretty much all of London. And I think, believe it or not, I think people are okay with that. But when you got like a camera that walks around and then actively looks in windows, because that's the thing. That's where you get to that, your man's home is his castle kind of thing, and that's where it gets to be problematic. And I honestly feel like this was definitely an overreach by Damage Control, and of course this resulted in bad things happening to Damage Control, really. Because if nothing else, I think this is what is opening up all the problems for these government agencies. Is they're so worried about a threat that they're going to create the threat that they're trying to stop, Yeah,
but at the same time, towards the end, you get a sense that it was one rogue agent that sort of was going that far. Like, as soon as her boss heard about, the ruckus it was causing and how public it was, he's like, hey, we got to pull back. And she's like, yeah, sure.
Well, but what's important about that is that it's not the ruckus, or that it's public, that if you kept it quiet, you want to shoot these guys. Yeah. It's like you do it quietly. We're going to give you all kinds of Black Ops money to do that. But you go marching through Jersey City and blowing up a high school?
Yeah, you're no longer Black Ops. You're like,
Yeah. You're in the middle of the street. It's like,
talk about it.
Yeah, it's really problematic in that sense. And that is the real crux of that biscuit here, because, now, and granted, and then you do have this reality that, yes, Kamran is having a problem that he can't control, I would
argue he is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, arguably he is the problem. But, and again, it's also something that, he didn't ask for. No, I mean, well, he was,
I mean, he's certainly been enjoying the fruits of that dynamic, so tacitly, if you...
Well, he liked being a clandestine. He liked the being a natural super soldier. He did not like, he does not like having, energy beams shooting out of him when he can't control it.
Certainly.
And when we get to what we reveal at the end, I think that actually tells us a little bit about what they're setting up here. Because one of the central issues about that thing, which is mutants, a mutation, if you will, is that, oftentimes these powers are not a positive thing for them. That, yeah, sure, every so often you get to, be super cool and shoot laser beams out of your eyes. But even then, it's like, if you're Cyclops, well, I can't not shoot laser beams out of my eyes, and that's actually really problematic. Or, you can be Charles Xavier, but then every so often you're a Toad, or you're, some other person whose life is actually maybe screwed up by having these powers, You're the Blob, and, you want to, it's great power that you can't be moved, but, it's not like the excess mass is a positive in your life, especially, I know. This is for Fred Dukes, man. But I think that's sort of what we're approaching with this. And the fact of the matter is that because he's having these problems, he's causing damage in the subway car. But then again, it's one of these weird things where if he wasn't on the run, then maybe he wouldn't be in this stress level and having these problems. But then again, if his family hadn't smashed up a wedding, he wouldn't be on the run. So it's a confluence of bad choices made by bad people.
Right.
That Ms. Marvel has to solve. And thank goodness that Zoe has a bunch of TikTok followers.
I like that she was in the high school filming her TikToks because the theater had good lighting.
Yeah, well, if you want to produce, you gotta be willing to plan it out. It's, you don't just become an influencer by being influential. You want to be an influencer, you got to think, okay, what do people want? What's the algorithm going to put into their feed?
She's definitely a hustler, for sure. Yeah,
you got to be in this world, man. Yeah, but it was interesting, although I'm just going to be honest with you. It's kind of funny because they're going to Penn Station and they're clearly on a PATH train. But I just learned that they've closed down the PATH train from Newark to Jersey City because of their from Harrison to Exchange Place. They've actually had to they're doing flood abatement on the tracks. So yeah, so they would not have actually been able to get there in the real world. Yeah, they would have had to go on to Hoboken first and then taken an NJ Transit train to get to Newark Penn Station or New York Penn Station.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, maybe it's in the future and all that work has been completed.
Yeah, they do have, start drones and damage control. So yeah, that's, but it's just only because like mass transit has been something that I've been looking into a lot about how to get from one spot to another. And, it just really bugged me recently when I found out that the PATH train was down.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course they go to the mosque and they have what I think is a really neat exchange because it actually does mirror an exchange that happened in the comics once. Where again, when they were running, I believe from Cradle, and they go to the mosque and the imam says, of course, come in. You have sanctuary here. This is a house of worship. And when Bruno makes that point, Nakia is like, are you an idiot? This is a mosque in Jersey City. We are being surveilled constantly.
Right. Defeats the purpose entirely.
Yes, it's like, they'll give you sanctuary, but, that's not going to do you good if things start blowing up.
Yeah, but no, you can't hide here.
Yes, you can't hide here.
Like, everyone's going to know. There's no way you're hiding here at all.
Yes, but, they go to the school because it's, as they say, the one place that they can guarantee will be empty on a Saturday. Which I don't know if that's true because, I don't know, when I was in high school, they had you'd go on a Saturday and there'd be practices and things like that you couldn't do during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess they knew the extracurricular schedule and it would have been empty if not for Zoe. But good thing she was there anyway. And they start, and I like, one of the things I like is when Kamala is going through her plan, people question like, are we really going to stop damage control with softballs? And it's like, no, we're going to slow them down. Because the whole point is we're not trying to stop damage control. That's stupid. We're all going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah.
But if we can delay it just enough, get Cameron out of Jersey City, he can go somewhere where he can be safe and out of the reach of damage control, and that's the goal. And it's cool that she's thinking in that way. And, and they do all their rigging up of all their little ways to stop it. They get everyone together. Oh, by the way, just to jump back, I like her sort of coming out as a superhero to her family thing. Especially because everyone already knew. That's very cute. He goes, what? I had no idea.
All right, that was at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, at the very beginning. But what do you think about her mother, making the statement that, you're not going to go out dressed like that, and then she gives her the costume? What did you think of that?
I thought that was a lovely little moment. It was more traditional. She had a little shawl that goes with it. but it was modern and it was keeping the themes that are important to her daughter as well.
I know it's very beautiful, and it goes into this idea that I do think that Kamala's mom has some of that clandestine power, because she's like real fast at throwing things together, and she's like a really good seamstress.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. When did she have time to make that, between learning it like last night and now?
Yeah, and like designing the whole thing with the broken necklace to make the S symbol.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to believe that, but like the way that she acted with her mom tells me that she didn't think that any of that stuff was real.
What do you mean?
Like, she was still angry with her mother, and she was still dismissive of her mother's claims for the longest time, until she finally saw Kamala in action. So it's like, I find it hard to believe that she sort of knew all along, or that she has powers herself. Unless she knows about it.
Well, no, and it's not that she has powers herself. It's like she doesn't know she has powers. So her powers are like the clandestine. They're really good at doing things. You know, they're fast and they're quick and they've got great reflexes. You know, and it's sort of like she doesn't notice that it's weird, because that's just her baseline. That's what she's always had.
Right.
You know, and it's like I always say about, like, when you get that super soldier serum, everybody notices how much stronger they get. No one notices that they got smarter, because usually it was a pretty smart guy who got it to start with. But if you were a really dumb guy and suddenly got way smarter, it would be really shocking to you. Right. And so for her, it's not that she knows anything, but I do think that she's got a little bit of an ability to do things quickly.
Although at the end here, Bruno says, I compared your DNA to your entire family, and you're unique amongst them all.
Yeah, because her mother has the Jinn DNA, and the Jinn DNA is what gives you just the, athleticism.
Okay.
What Kamala has is something else that unlocks that Noor dimension power, which I actually so I got like a whole fan theory about this, that the Noor dimension is actually the negative zone, that it is the antimatter universe of the negative zone, and that the clandestines and the Noor, they actually are beings from that antimatter universe who come into this universe, but that because matter and antimatter can't exist at the same time, when they come into contact, it destroys itself. But the idea is that those travelers coming to Earth from the Noor dimension, from the negative zone, that's what attracts the Kree. And I get the feeling like they are going to wrap the Kree and the Inhumans into what the Jinn are, to sort of produce what that, the Inhumans are humans that have been empowered by that antimatter universe DNA and energy. Mm-hmm. And then, the mutants are humans who, through a mutation, are also accessing this extra planar energy. Because it's not always going to be the antimatter dimension. Sometimes it's going to be the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak dimension, if you happen to be Cyclops. So, that's my crazy fan theory for the week. But we'll have to see where that goes. But in the moment, we get the fight. We get the elephant toothpaste. Tristan made a good point to me about elephant toothpaste. Apparently, it's a very exothermic reaction. So, like, when you create elephant toothpaste, that stuff is coming out steaming hot. And if it touched your skin, it could very easily burn you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fortunately, as I pointed out, they were all wearing tactical gear. So that probably protected them from getting severe burns from
None of the kids were within blast radius?
No, of course not. They knew it was there, so they didn't go in there. They're blowing it up, also, that's going to be a mess to clean up.
Yeah.
But then again, so's the wall that Cameron blew apart with his powers.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Towards the end of it, you see he's like perfectly willing to just waste people, Like he saves her in the bathroom, knocks a hole in the wall, and then he's immediately about to destroy one of the agents there, and she has to put an energy field between it to block it.
And to be fair, there's a couple of reasons why. There's one, he was raised by the clandestine.
Right.
So we know that he was told, like, since a little kid, hey, man, we might have to do some unpleasant things, but this is all for the greater good. This is all to get us home to the Nor Dimension. So he's probably, who knows, he may have killed in the past. You never know.
Yeah.
He's a young kid, but maybe he's had to do it. But more to the point, this is also after he finds out his mom is dead.
Right.
And it's also interesting because I think he may think that Kamala killed his mom. Like, maybe not be mad at her.
I wondered about that too, but like, don't you think he would have acted sooner or more violently if he did? Well, no,
because I think he understood that maybe, because I think from his, this is just a theory, okay? So she says your mom did everything she said she was going to do. She opened the door and she was going to destroy the world. And then it's like, what happened to my mother? It's like, she died. But it's later that he says she died to protect you and sent what she had to you, which basically changes the dynamic from the first time she talks about it to the second time she talks about it, where it goes from just that your mother's dead and she was trying to destroy the world to your mother's dead because she saved you, because she thought of you and she tried to close the portal and sent her powers to you. But, again, I don't think they communicate that very well in the first thing. So I think there's a part of him that does think Kamala killed her because she had to protect her world, And that idea that, and again, if he was raised with this idea that, sometimes you got to kill people, maybe he doesn't hold it against her, but it's really messing with his day. It's really messing with his head because now he's truly alone in the universe.
Yeah.
And, again, when she realizes that she's going to send him to be with the Red Daggers, again, it's like, these are the people that have been hunting my family my whole life. They aren't going to protect me. But, as she says to, and I forget the Red Dagger's name, but says to him, I know he's clandestine, so am I. It's like, we're not just who we are. We're not just our lineages. You have to help him. And, true to his word, he does, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
I could see a buddy cop series with the two of them.
Oh, I'm sure we haven't seen the last of them. I am certain of that. Because first off, I think there's all sorts of lore and mythos with the Red Daggers that they got to explore. There's going to be a lot more stuff to show us, the entire question of what's going to happen in the Marvels is interesting because we do get our teaser for the Marvels at the end. But that's a couple years out. So I don't know, like, are we just not going to see Ms. Marvel again until then? And then what's going to...
How far out is it?
I think it's... Well, it's certainly... it's got to be a little... It's got to be at least a year, yeah. So I guess maybe it'll line up there. I'm more interested in figuring out what's going to happen with Bruno. And I do wonder if we're going to see Bruno again before we see Ms. Marvel.
He's going to, weaponize and outfit some superheroes, for sure.
Well, this is the thing. He's at Caltech. And we know, even though they say, Ironheart, she was going to MIT. But we actually saw that, that Caltech, that they went to California, the Wakandans, to set up their cultural exchange. So I wonder if she's going to meet Bruno at Caltech. Or if we get Wakanda Forever and we get like a Bruno cameo, I'm going to be very excited. Or when we get to Ironheart, if we have her palling with Bruno. So that could be interesting. That could be very interesting how that dynamic goes because Bruno is very cool and I want to see more of him. But, But anyway, yeah, I mean, we get this big fight. We get millions in property damage, but we also see, and what I guess is like the whole point, is Kamala is not going to have a fight. You know, she's not going to let Kamran hurt people, and she sure as heck isn't going to let damage control hurt people.
Or hurt Kamran.
Or hurt Kamran, yeah. She's got to protect, she's trying to protect everyone. And in your classic scene there, we see at the end, you know, Jersey City comes to protect her, you know?
That was beautiful, because it's like, in that moment, my favorite scene was when the mom says to her, look, Kamala, they're all here for you. They all support you, which is such an interesting moment because her whole life was spent being shunned by her community for her grandmother's supposed weird, you know, witchy stuff. Yeah. And now here we are, finally, we come to America, and now we're in like a free, open society, and everybody like, hey, we come together. We have community surrounding us for our specialness, not shunning us for it. I thought that was a really, really cool moment.
That was. You know, I do find the cops to be interesting in this. You know, a lot of talk out there about you know. And here's the thing about the cops: the cops can't win for losing in this, because first they're just trying to hold the crowds back,
right?
You know, because they're trying to stop a riot, obviously, because obviously there's a lot of angry people been whipped up by the TikTok. You know, and they're just trying to maintain order. Meanwhile, damage control is coming in and doing damage.
Right, and they're not supposed to exist. They're like one of these off-the-books organizations. So, like, some point...
damage control is public knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not like S.H.I.E.L.D., where it was clandestine.
Oh, okay.
They're... clandestine. No, they were a well-documented group. They have government offices. And there's been talk about, like, exactly what they do, and that effectively... They were originally just created to clean up after, like, Avengers level messes, you know, but that basically after S.H.I.E.L.D. falls and everything else, they sort of get wrapped into sort of like a Department of Homeland Security kind of thing, where now they're just in charge of all superheroic, dangers. And again, like we said, in this moment, it's not that she is going in to catch this guy. It's that she's going in against children at a high school in the middle of the city. You know, that there's all this TikToks out. Because that's the thing, is that even before TikToks they go in,
the scene, we got to go, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We do not mess. We may have made fun of her with her influencers, but hey, she is an influencer. Right. We all saw the popcorn video. You know, we do not want to mess with the power of popcorn. So
I wish they would have given us a bit more into her backstory. The red-haired damage control agent. Like, why is she the way that she is? I mean, like, that's an extreme personality, right? Willing to forego orders, like putting your entire career in jeopardy. To get like, why was she so motivated in that direction? I'm sure there's a good story. I would have loved to have heard it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to... Here's what I'll say. I doubt we've seen the last of her.
I hope so.
I doubt we've seen the last of any of them, because, first off, I think that her position is not unreasonable in this universe.
Right.
You know? And that's the thing. And there's even a very interesting point that she makes when it first comes up, when she says, this is what happens when the wrong kind of people get superpowers. And he says, wrong kind of people. She says, kids, which is, and again, that's something that feeds into this idea of the mutants, which tend to be teenage kids. And you have this possibility that maybe she has dealt with teenage superheroes or teenage, you know, powered beings who caused damage, maybe who weren't as careful as Kamala.
So this is the beginning of the mutant registration, like the seeds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
I mean, if you think about it, a character like Cyclops, when his powers first emerged, he took out, actually, I think in some comics, he like damaged the Washington Monument.
Oh.
Poor Washington Monument. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, you realize that, you know, people could have really been hurt in that. People could have really been killed, you know, or anything bad could have happened. So maybe we are going to see that, no, she's got this history of some kid who got their hands on some kind of power cell or got themselves some kind of super mutant power and actually really did damage and hurt someone, maybe hurt someone she loves. And that's why she feels dedicated. This is too dangerous. You can't have children running around with these powers unchecked, and that it's not an unreasonable statement, The same reason why we don't, generally speaking, let kids have automatic weapons, because that would be bad. That would be dangerous, You don't want a bunch of high school kids carrying guns to school for obvious reasons, because even if you have 10 good guys to one bad guy with a gun, you're still going to have bad guys with guns that are just going to draw the gun, because the good guy with the gun isn't going to draw his gun until the bad guy does. And we all know that if you ever watch cowboy movies, you got to be quick on the draw. You got to, it's not good. Anyway, but moving right along. She does help Comrade escape. Comrade does, and this is what's good, because as we know, every city in the Marvel Universe has an interlocking network of tunnels that can get you from one place to another really fast. And you know what? You laugh, but that's actually canonical. That's actually, yeah.
I was thinking it might have taken them 2 months to get there by this container ship or something.
Yeah. Well, how he got from Jersey City to Karachi, I don't know,
Well, I'm saying it had to be a shipping line. It's the only thing you have to get by.
Yeah. Or they actually just meant they just went to, they just went to Staten Island or something. It was just
catch the ferry to Staten Island.
Yeah, just took the ferry to Staten Island, I'm sure there's a Pakistani community in
huge,
Staten
yeah.
Island. It's
No, but he ends up in Pakistan, right? So
well, we assume it's Pakistan. All we know is they went into a restaurant. That's all we know. I think it's the same restaurant as before, but it's right. So how we got
that the Red Dagger is there, and then if it was here, then how did that guy get here?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, so obviously, I guess we can probably assume that he has been on a ship for a month. So that whole scene, that's that's a couple weeks later,
Right. Had to be.
Which maybe shows why he's a little more calm with his powers by that point. Because he was just glad to get out of the dang shipping container,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So what is that end supposed to mean where Carol Danvers shows up? Oh, look, well, okay, before we get there, I have that great scene with her dad on the roof where he names her Miss Marvel and reveal that the name Kamala in Urdu means a miracle, a marvel,
Yeah. Which I don't know if it does, but I'm sure it's close enough. It does? Oh, good. Well, then there we go. Yeah. I mean, that is, that's they actually do that a lot where there's a lot of words that mean miracle that they say it, but in Marvel they say it means Marvel. So, and that's just an interesting little side note.
It's something that makes you go, wow, so it's it's just,
Yeah. So anyway, so yes, and that's how she gets to be our little Ms. Marvel,
Yeah.
I think you got to hit that.
What's weird about that is he's really into superheroes, knows all the superheroes, and then he goes, Carol Danvers, I don't know who that is. I was like, I didn't buy that he didn't know who that was.
I don't think he's into superheroes. I think he he knows who Hulk is.
All right.
In fact, I think maybe the mom knew who Hulk was. Because it would be Big Hulk, Little Hulk,
Yeah, fair enough.
And not for nothing, I'm sure they saw the Hulk when he was in town,
Right.
Because at this point, the Hulk actually has a pretty big public persona. Carol Danvers is still kind of a more obscure celebrity because she's not out there saving kittens out of trees.
Right. She shows up when it's really necessary.
Yeah. So it's and also he's and also even if he were be aware, maybe he knows her as Captain Marvel or, the Marvel girl or something. And I don't know who Carol Danvers is. Or Carol freaking Danvers. I don't know who that is. Although you'd think, since it's all over your daughter's room, maybe you might ask who that is. Yeah. So I think that was also him just being a silly dad,
I would like to think so a little bit.
Yeah. it's a lot of it's very sweet, and it's a good thing, and you get see her run off, and he just looks at this absolute magic, which and apparently that actor is the actor who does the Pakistani translations for Doctor Strange. So he actually does the voiceover for Doctor Strange when they ship that into
the Pakistani Doctor Strange.
He is the Pakistani Doctor Strange. Yes,
that's so cool. I gotta find a clip of that now. That sounds really.
Yes. So yeah. You can find him online, but yeah, because it's his voice. He's got that great baritone voice,
Yeah,
so,
that's hilarious.
So anyway, yeah, that is that. We get the final scene with the.
Right. So what is happening there? Because is there a storyline in the comics that references?
Well, yeah. I mean, that looks like it's what happens. So the Negabands, which is why I think the Nord Dimension might be the antimatter universe. Huh. The Negabands were these two bands, because even say these were supposed to be two bands. And that was what powered Captain Marvel, because it had the force of the antimatter universe that he could then use to do all kinds of superhero stuff, But what it was, if you hit them together, you would trade places with someone from the negative. So basically Captain Marvel would be trapped in the negative zone, and his bands were found by Rick Jones. He put them on and hit them together, and then Rick Jones went into the negative zone, and Captain Marvel became in the real world. And
so does it have to be the negative zone, or can it be anywhere?
Well, no, that's what the Negabands did. So it allowed you to pass between the one world and the negative zone, and often utilizing the system that you would hit that if someone was wearing it, you could exchange places with someone in the negative zone.
Huh.
So presumably what happened there was Carol Danvers is retrieving the other bangle, possibly from the negative zone. And then when she gets there, something happens, it activates, and it translocates Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan. So
I wonder if Kamran's mom is going to be in the negative zone. That wasn't her dying; that was her shedding her human form to ascend.
That is a possibility. Well,
that would be interesting.
And again, that's the other thing that makes me think that I think the Kree and the negative zone are going to tie in together, because you saw how what happened to them as they're transitioning was similar to what happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Diviner. If you didn't have the right DNA, it turns you into that black, crusty cocoon. But the idea is that maybe because that is just part of how that antimatter transformation works. That's what happens with the activation. But the thing is, if you don't have any antimatter being DNA in you, that it just covers you in the cocoon, and it doesn't emerge you out the other side. Possibility, I don't know, just a crazy theory. But I do think that's something that they're going to build to sort of reintegrate all of these things that have already been established, so that they can, bring in all of the actors and actresses that the fans love to put into the larger Marvel universe. That's my theory. That's what I expect. And and so I'm thinking that they're going to have a thing where what makes you inhuman is this tie to the negative zone, and that the Nord Dimension will be the negative zone, which will, in its own time, tie to the Fantastic Four.
Wow.
Yep. It's all connected, Mozzie. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
A good ending to a solid show that, created a pretty special character that I think people are genuinely waiting for more from.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And next week we're going to be talking the Ms. Marvel Assembled episode, and then after that, make way for the She-Hulk.
Hope that's
She's
good.
coming. I hope it's good too. I think it's going to be good. I think we might even get like some interesting tie-ins there as well. I think there's going to be
Matt Murdock's going to be a part of the show.
Matt Murdock's going to be in there. That's going to be good. He's in the red and yellow costume now because he's blind. What does he know? It's he doesn't know that clashes. It's like, yeah, man, but if you're trying to be like stealthy, maybe we shouldn't put so much yellow. It's like, oh, why? Does yellow not blend in? It's like, no, not really. It's very eye catching. Oh boy.
And if we get him, hopefully we get the Punisher somewhere soon too.
Oh yeah. Well, was it Rosario Dawson? I think it was. Said that she's excited to be working with Barenthal again.
Oh, nice.
But then she had to walk it back. Said, no, I don't know. That's actually happening. I was just saying something I had heard from.
Would be nice. Right.
Yeah, like I had heard a rumor, and then I was just repeating the rumor, but no one's called me yet, or at least that's what she says.
Right. That's what she was told to say.
Yes. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've liked listening to this episode. You can always write to us anytime you like at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, at gmail.com. That's to send us letters, which we can read on the air for this show or any of our shows. And if you don't like to, type with your fingers, you can always just call us on the telephone and leave us a voice message at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And likewise, go to our show notes, go down to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. There you're going to see links for all of our shows, all of our merch, t-shirts, the whole 9 yards, and the ability to subscribe to our Patreon, where you can give us money and vote on stuff we do, and it can be a lot of fun. You get full video at $5 a month. Join for as cheap as $3. And Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, they can always write to me as well in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things, maybe, unless I get a job that has me now working 2 to midnight every night. Yes. But it's only for 4 days a week. So it's like, so it'd be 3 days off, 4 days on, but 2 to midnight. It's interesting. It's a possibility. We don't know yet. Nothing's confirmed. But when I live tweet things, that's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties. You have come through another evening on the bounding main of the internet and all of the great streaming content that we bring to you fresh from the sea. Come again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.